It was a cold October evening. The kind of night where the chill seeps straight into your bones. Halloween was just around the corner, and the mall was more alive than usual. Crowds moved from shop to shop, children laughed and played, and orange pumpkin lights glowed warmly over every walkway. Masks, props, and decorations hung everywhere, like playful warnings of the spooky season. I, security guard assigned to the mall's largest floor, continued my routine patrols just like every other day. When it brushed past me, I felt a sudden wave of cold fear slicing through my chest, something no amount of experience can prepare you for. Instinctively, I shouted, "Hey, you! Stop right there!" But the figure didn't react. It didn't speak, didn't pause, didn't acknowledge me at all. It simply drifted past, continuing forward as if I didn't exist. I rushed after it, but before I could take more than a few steps, an elderly Asian man slipped and fell outside a nearby shop. Yet something about that night felt heavier. The air carried a strange weight, and an unsettling feeling settled in the back of my mind, as if unseen eyes were following my every step. As I turned a corner, I saw it. A cloaked figure, wrapped completely in a black robe, moving slowly in my direction. There was something unnatural about its movement. It glided smoothly, almost floating without making a single sound. My training kicked in, and I stopped to help him up. Once I ensured he was okay, I looked back toward the hallway where the cloaked figure had gone, but it had completely vanished. No footsteps, no shadow, nothing. I see. It was as if it had been swallowed by the air. Later, I entered the break room where my friend and fellow security officer, Rex, was on his break. I casually asked him, "Hey, did you see a guy in a long black cloak around here?" Rex stiffened, and the color drained from his face. Then, out of nowhere, I heard it, a child's laughter. Soft, playful, echoing, and strangely distant. Yet, the mall was completely empty. The laughter circled me, bouncing off walls as if the child was running around me in the dark. "Who's there?" I shouted. Immediately, the laughter stopped. The silence that followed was suffocating. Moments later, a loud crash exploded from the upper floor. I hurried up the escalator and spotted a toppled vending machine lying on the ground. Next to it was a massive dark shape. I raised my flashlight and froze. The creature looked like a twisted mix of animals, the backside of a grizzly bear, but the front half resembled a bobcat. Its eyes glowed a deep, furious red. Slowly, it rose to its full height. 7, maybe 8 feet tall. Its long fangs glimmered in the weak light, and then it spoke, in my own voice. "Who's there?" it growled, followed by a scream so loud it made my ears vibrate in pain. Without hesitation, I leaped into my cart and sped toward the exit, my heart hammering violently in my chest. Even after escaping outside into the cold night air, my mind struggled to understand what I had witnessed. A creature? A ghost? A hallucination? Whatever it wasn't alive. Not in any normal sense. To this day, I still work in that same mall. Everything appears normal now. The crowds return every morning, the shops open like usual, and the lights shine brightly. Yet sometimes, during my silent night patrols, I hear it again, the faint echo of a child's laughter drifting through the empty halls, and a soft whisper following behind it. Who's there? Moral? Some things are beyond human understanding. And not every mall, every building, or every shadow is what it seems. Because sometimes, darkness isn't just darkness. This story took place in late 2020, during the COVID lockdown in Renfrew, near Glasgow Airport, UK. It is about a girl named Kiran, who worked at her family's Indian restaurant, a well-known place in their area. In their neighborhood lived a man named Alec who was in his 50s. At first, he seemed normal, but recently, an unfamiliar guest had been staying at his house. Kiran noticed that this new man would stare at her in a strange, gross, and unsettling way. Every time she stepped out of her house, his eyes would follow her, making her feel extremely unsafe. One cold evening, while Kiran was leaving for the restaurant, Alec spoke to her directly for the first time. "Hey, Miss Shahal, "You look amazing in those leather trousers." The way he said it was so creepy and inappropriate that Kieran froze in shock. She quickly got into her car and started the ignition, but then she realized she had left her phone inside the house. Gathering her courage, Kieran went back inside to get her phone. When she returned outside, Alec had disappeared. She felt a little relieved. But only a few seconds later, while driving toward the restaurant, her car tire suddenly burst. When she checked, she saw it had been slashed on purpose. Someone had cut it. At that moment, a car pulled up behind her with its headlights on full beam. Before Kieran could react, someone grabbed her from behind and covered her mouth. She could barely breathe, and tears filled her eyes. Then she heard a voice, "Right, Miss Shahal. Hands behind your back." It was Alec. He tied Kieran's hands with tape, covered her mouth with a rag and parcel tape, and shoved her against her car. Kieran was crying, her breath fogging in the cold air. But when Alec stepped forward to turn off her engine, Kieran noticed that her legs weren't tied properly. She kicked him hard, first in the groin, then in the face, sending Alec crashing to the ground. During the investigation, it was revealed that Alec had actually been living illegally in her neighbor's house. The real neighbor was away with his family. During locusing her shoulder, she rubbed the tape off her mouth, then brought her hands forward and used her teeth to tear through the tape until she freed herself. She picked up her phone, which had fallen to the ground, and immediately called the police and her family. The police arrived and arrested Alec. During the investigation, it was revealed that Alec had actually been living illegally in her neighbor's house. The real neighbor was away with his family during lockdown. The man was using the fake name, Alec, and had learned Kieran's real name from their food deliveries. Kieran later shared that she had been learning martial arts for a few months, which probably saved her life. After the incident, Kieran went through therapy and counseling, and she is doing better now. Her family had to sell their restaurant during the pandemic, but the most important thing is that Kieran survived and is safe. Moral: never ignore the people around you. Every small sign can be a warning, and your safety should always come first. I don't remember when it first happened, not the exact moment. It started quietly, like an old melody playing softly in the background, and you only realize it halfway through. It was late autumn. I couldn't sleep. Not because of stress, just a strange restlessness. The house made its usual sounds, the radiator ticking, the fridge humming faintly, and the leaves brushing against the window outside. That night, right before sleep, I felt an unusual calm settle over me. A soft vibration began in my chest. At first, I thought it was just my heartbeat, but this was more mechanical. A steady hum that spread through my whole body. Then, in a single moment, I slipped out. There was no pain. It felt like stepping from warm water into cold air. When I opened my eyes, I found myself standing beside my bed. That night, right before sleep, I felt an unusual calm settle over me. A soft vibration began in my chest. At first, I thought it was just my heartbeat, but this was more mechanical. A steady hum that spread through my whole body. Then, in a single moment, I slipped out. There was no pain. It felt like stepping from warm water into cold air. When I opened my eyes, I found myself standing beside my bed. I kept doing it every night. Sleep, the vibration, then stepping out. Each time I went farther. Around the house, the garden, the street. Everything moved slowly, slightly out of sync. I started to enjoy it. It felt like a secret world made only for me. The air was colder, heavier. The usual calm was gone. Instead, I heard a faint whisper, like someone speaking from far away. When I walked into the living room, I felt it immediately. Something was watching Methan one night. Everything changed. By the doorway it stood, a dark, blurry silhouette. No clear shape, just long, uneven limbs and a bent head-like form. Its presence wasn't just in the room. It sank straight into my mind. I knew it wasn't supposed to be here. I stepped back. The thing moved like a reflection rippling in water. When I tried to run, the world stretched. The hallway growing longer, the whisper becoming louder and sharper. I reached the bedroom, but it was behind me. My body was still lying on the bed. I tried to slip back into it, but this time something blocked me. like an invisible wall holding me out. I pushed and pushed, but I couldn't get in. Then I saw it. The thing was in the corner of the room. Clearer now. Bigger. Bigger. Slowly, it started moving toward the bed. The air dropped in temperature, and the low hum in my chest synced with my heartbeat. I screamed, but nothing came out. The creature reached my body and slid inside it. My body jerked. The fingers twitched, the head tilted, then the eyes opened. And in my own voice it said, "This is mine now." Everything went dark. I don't know how many days have passed. In this place, it's always night. Everything is frozen in a silver light. I can see it, using my body, living my life. My face, my voice, my laugh. Sometimes it looks right at me, and just smiles. And every time it smiles, I fade a little more. I think I won't last much longer. But it will. In my body. In my home. Wearing my face, smiling forever. And no one will ever know the difference. It happened in the 1980s, when the narrator traveled with his father on a business trip to Mexico. The moment they crossed the California-Mexico border, an unsettling gut feeling washed over him, a sharp instinct whispering that something was terribly wrong, though nothing visible explained it. Everything began with the radio in their car, an eerie coincidence that quickly became a disturbing pattern. The song, "Somebody's Watching Me," kept playing repeatedly, almost unnaturally often, as if the station had nothing else to broadcast. Between the verses, a DJ spoke strange sentences in a distorted tone, and other voices layered beneath whispered things like, "Hi is watching you," and "coming to get you." The narrator felt as though some unseen force was trying to warn him, like the radio had become a mouthpiece for something beyond the ordinary. By the time they arrived at their motel, the uneasiness had grown into full fear. The motel wasn't a proper motel at all. It was a rundown trailer park that looked abandoned except for a few flickering lights. Their room turned out to be an old camping trailer with a glass door, a door through which anyone could look directly inside. There was no privacy, and the structure looked so fragile that even a small push could break it. They were hungry, so they went to the only dining area available, a broken-down barbecue setup, where they ordered something the menu called filet de mer. But when the plate arrived, their stomachs turned. It wasn't fish at all. It was a giant sea slug, barbecued whole, its slimy texture still visible under burnt skin. As they tried to understand what was happening around them, the narrator noticed a man standing in the shadows, staring at them without blinking. He looked disturbingly similar to Charles Manson, with messy hair, hollow eyes, and a cigarette glowing between his fingers. The man didn't smile, didn't look away. He just stared. They tried to ignore him and hurried back to their trailer, only to realize that the lock on the glass door was broken. Knowing they didn't have any real security, the father created a makeshift alarm by stacking tin cans on the door so that if someone tried to enter, the noise would wake them. In the middle of the night, the sound of cans crashing jolted them awake. When they looked toward the door, their blood ran cold. The same creepy man was standing outside, inches from the glass, pressing his face against it. His breath fogged the window as he dragged his tongue slowly across the glass, leaving a wet smear while his mouth stretched into an evil grin. They screamed out of pure terror, but the man only stepped back calmly, smiled wider, and then walked away into the darkness as if nothing had happened. The next morning they rushed to tell their client what had happened. The client turned pale, grabbed a newspaper and handed it to them. On the front page was a mugshot of the same man they had seen, and the headline read, "Psicopata fugitivo visto nel area local," which meant, escaped psychopath seen in local area. That was the moment it became clear. The man who had watched them through the glass, who had licked the door with that wicked smile, was a dangerous fugitive killer. That night remained burned into their memories forever, and the narrator says he still can't forget the sight of that man's twisted grin or the mark his tongue left on the glass.